It was 11:38 p.m. when Jack boarded the last bus to Black Hill. There were only 6 passengers. Jack sat near the back. The driver did not say hello. He simply looked at Jack through the mirror and asked, "First time on this road?" Jack nodded. The driver looked back at the road. Then he said something strange. "Whatever happened tonight, don't get off the bus." Jack laughed. "Why?" The driver did not answer. The bus continued into the darkness. Outside the windows, there were no house, no street lights, only trees. Jack looked around. An old woman was sitting near the front. A man in a black coat sat beside the window. A young couple sat together, and at the very back there was an empty seat. Jack noticed something strange. Nobody was talking, nobody was using their phone. They were all sitting completely still. He asked the man beside him, "Does this bus always run this late?" The man did not respond. Jack looked at him. The man's eyes were closed. Jack thought he was sleeping. Then the bus passed a sign. Black Hill, 12 km. Jack checked his phone. 11:52 p.m. He relaxed. Only 12 kilometers. Then the driver suddenly slammed on the brakes. Everyone moved forward. The driver whispered, "Don't look outside." Jack looked anyway. There was a woman standing in the middle of the road. She was wearing a white dress. Her hair covered her face. The bus stopped a few meters away. The driver did not move. Nobody moved. The woman slowly raised her hand. She wanted the bus to stop. Jack expected the driver to continue. Instead, the door opened. Jack stared at him. "Why are you letting her in?" The driver did not answer. The woman stepped onto the bus. She walked slowly down the aisle. Nobody looked at her. She stopped beside Jack. Then she whispered, "Is this bus to the Black Hill?" Jack nodded. She sat in the empty seat behind him. Jack felt something cold against the back of his neck. Then the bus started moving again. Jack looked at the driver. The driver was staring at him through the mirror. He silently shook his head. "Don't talk to her." Jack turned around. The woman beside him whispered, "What is your name?" Jack did not answer. She asked again, "What is your name?" Still nothing. Then she whispered, "Jack." His blood went cold. He did not tell her his name. Jack slowly looked at the window. The reflection showed the passengers, the driver, the woman, the couple, the man in black, and the woman behind him. But something was wrong. There was one extra person in the reflection, a little boy. Standing in the aisle, Jack turned around. Nobody was there. At midnight, the bus stopped again. The driver announced, "5 minutes stop." Everyone got off. Jack stayed inside. The woman in white stayed too. Jack watched through the window. The other passengers stood outside, but something felt wrong. They were standing in a straight line, facing the forest, not talking, no moving. Jack looked at the driver. "What is happening?" The driver whispered, "They are waiting." "For what?" The driver looked toward the forest. "For the others." Jack felt a chill. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. The woman in white was standing directly behind him. Her face was still hidden. She whispered, "You should not have stayed on the bus." The driver suddenly shouted, "Everyone back inside." The passengers returned. There were only 5 passengers. Jack counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The old woman was missing. Jack asked, "Where is the old lady?" Nobody answered. The driver closed the door. Jack looked outside. The old woman was standing far away near the trees. She was facing the bus. Jack waved. She did not move. Then she slowly turned around and walked into the forest. Jack noticed something. Her feet were not touching the ground. She was floating. Jack stepped backward. The driver whispered, "Don't count the passengers." The bus continued. Jack checked his phone. 12:47 a.m. Suddenly, bang! Something hit the side of the bus. Everyone jumped. Bang! Again, something was running beside them. Jack looked through the window. Nothing. Then bang! This time something hit the roof. The driver shouted. Nobody looked up. The passenger closed their eyes. Jack did not. He looked at the ceiling, a dark hand slowly appearing through the emergency window, then another. Something was crawling across the roof. The woman in the white whispered, "It is looking for you." The bus suddenly stopped. The engine died. Completely silent. The driver tried starting it. Nothing. Then someone knocked on the front door. Knock. The driver did not open it. A man's voice came from outside. "Help me." Jack recognized the voice. It was the man in the black cloth, but he was sitting inside the bus. Jack looked at him. The man was still sitting there. His eyes were closed. The voice outside came again. "Please open the door." The driver whispered, "Don't listen." Then the voice changed. It became the voice of the old woman. "Please." Then the voice became the little boy. Jack first. The driver finally spoke. He told Jack the truth. This bus has crashed on the Black Hill Road 20 years ago. Everyone on the bus had died. Driver, passengers, everyone. But every night at midnight, the bus appeared again. It followed the same route, and every night it picked up one living passenger. Jack whispered, "Why?" The driver looked at him. "Because the dead need someone to replace them." Jack looked around. The passengers were staring at him now. The woman in white slowly lifted her head. For the first time, Jack saw her face. There was no face, only darkness. The driver whispered, "Tonight they choose you." Jack ran toward the bus door lock. He hit the emergency button. Nothing. The passengers began standing one by one. The woman in white walked toward him. Jack screamed, "Let me out!" The driver looked at him through the mirror. Then he smiled. "You can get off." The doors opened. Outside was a road. Jack jumped out. He ran. He did not look back. After several minutes, he reached a small village. He knocked on the first house. An old man opened the door. Jack asked, "Can you help me?" The old man stared at him, then looked past Jack. His face turned pale. He whispered, "What bus?" Jack turned around. The road was empty. No bus, no headlight, nothing. The old man slowly closed the door. Before shutting it completely, he said, "Son, the bus had not stopped here in 20 years." Jack looked down. His head was shaking. Then he noticed a small ticket in his palm. He turned it over. There was a print sheet number, seat 7. And underneath it, a departure time, 12:47 a.m. tomorrow. Jack looked back toward the road. In the distance, two headlights appeared, and a bird's horn sounded.